So the second law that we can use with oblique triangles is called the cosine law. Okay, so we looked at the sine law. Now we're going to look at the cosine law, and today's goal is to find the measure of sides and angles in oblique triangles using the cosine law. So the formula for the cosine law is a little bit more complicated than the formula for the sine law. Okay? Formula for the cosine law says if you're trying to find side A, it's going to be a squared equals to b squared plus c squared minus 2 times b times c cos A. So it's a little bit more complicated. Part of it has the Pythagorean theorem in it, but then you're going to have to use kind of the angle. So again, the formulas you don't have to know, you don't have to memorize, you just have to be able to know which one to use. And if I change the letters on you a little bit, you don't get confused. Okay? So you see that with A, I'm looking for side A, I have to know B, C, and I have to know angle A. So I have to know B, I have to know C, and I have to know angle A. Okay? So let me show you here. If I have triangle ABC, I am looking for side A, I must know side B, I must know side C, and I must know angle A. Okay? So if I'm looking for side B, what do you think I should know? So you see that I have to know the two sides and the angle in between, yeah? All right. So if I'm looking for side B, I should know side A and side C and angle B. So the formula becomes like this. B squared equal to okay? So you see that because I'm looking for B, I know angle B, and I know side A and C. Okay? So I know the other two sides, A and C, and angle B. No matter what letters I give you, you should be able to come up with that formula. If you're looking for side C, what would your formula be? Are we okay with this? Again, the formulas will be given to you, but I want you to be able to understand if I give you X, because the formula will be given to you in A, B, and C. But what if I gave you X, Y, and Z? I gave you side Z and side Y and angle X, and I asked you to look for side X, right? Your letters are going to change. The formula is going to stay the same. Right? So it's going to be x squared equals to z squared plus y squared cos x. So you see? Yes, the letters are different, but I'm still using the same formula, changing the letters.
Are these just two laws to just help you find angles and sides for every triangle?
That's right.
Doesn't mean you necessarily need to use one or the other.
At the end of the day, it's going to have to be one or the other because it would depend on what given information you have. Okay? Whatever given information, if you have the two sides and you're going to see, if you have the two sides and the contained angle, then you must use the cosine law. You can't use the sine law.
Right, so we could get like triangles that solve the triangle and only get two of those sides back, one up there,
you have to use cos. That's right. Right? So you're going to have to pick what law to use to be able to solve the problem. Okay? Does that make sense to everyone? So this is one of the formulas, and then that's if I'm looking for a side if I'm looking for an angle, I must know all three sides. Oh, this in a second. There is a mistake in this formula here. This should be 2BC. So change that. There's no A here. Should be 2BC. Okay, if I'm looking for the angle, I must know all three sides. Okay, so look at this. Cosine A equals to B squared plus C squared minus A squared divided by 2BC. This formula comes from right here, okay? But I isolated for cos A. Okay, so I moved these around to the other side to isolate for cos A. We're going to look at, I'm not going to show you, do you guys want me to show you how to isolate, or since you're going to be given the formula, you're okay?
Isolate this one.
Isolate? Okay, let's isolate. I'm going to write it in the separate. So I have B squared minus 2BC cos. Remember, I want to isolate for cos A. Now to move is whatever is multiplied by B cos A. That's what BC and the cos A. Multiplication. So if I want to get, what do I do to get rid of it? Because multiplication, opposite of multiplication is division. B squared divided. Looks a little have on the other page. Right? This is what you have on the other page. So you see that the order and the subtraction, there's no more negative here and there's addition here more than subtraction, is because I factor out a negative 1. Negative A squared plus B squared plus C squared over negative 2AB. And then be left with B squared plus C squared minus A squared over 2BC. Okay? So this is how the isolation works. Again, you're going to be given the formula so you don't have to isolate every single time. Yeah.
Why did it only affect the one side?
What do you mean? The negative 1, I just canceled it because negative 1 over negative 1, they cancel each other, become positive, right? Technically, that last step is not needed, but to make it cleaner, we do that. Are we okay with this? With the cos law, it's easier to identify when you can use the cosine law, versus the sine law. I'll show you when you can use the cosine law versus when you can use the sine law, and then you can determine which one's easier for you to identify. Okay? I personally always look for, can I use cosine law? If not, then I know it's going to be sine law. All right, so let's write the two other formulas that if we're looking for angle B. So it's going to be cos B equal to
A squared plus C squared minus B squared over 2 A.
Good. So if you look here, the angle is going to correspond to the subtraction, right? So if this is angle B, then I'm going to subtract B squared, and the other two are A and C, okay? And then cos C okay? So, when can I use the cosine law? We said that we looked at the previous, this example, or at these formulas, and we looked at what do I need to know, and it turned out that I need to know two sides and the angle between them, right? So you must know two sides and the what we call contained angle. Okay, so two sides, any two sides. So if you know these two sides, then you must be given the contained angle. Okay, the angle in between the two sides. Then you can use cosine law. Okay. Your other option to use the second formula, you must know side A, side B, side C, right? So that means I have to know all three sides. Okay, then you can solve once you know all three sides, you can solve any angle. Doesn't matter which angle you solve. If the question asks you to solve for angle A, then you must solve for angle A. But technically speaking, I can solve for angle A, I can solve for angle B, I can solve for angle C, if the question doesn't specify. Okay? It asks you to solve a triangle, you can start with whatever one you want. So, here are the two things. Cosine law, you need two sides and contained angle, or you need the three sides. So if you don't have these two options, then you have to use sine law. That's why it's easier to know if it's cosine law or not. Does that make sense? All right. Find the measure of angle C. What do I know here? I know all three sides. Okay? So my only option is cosine law. Okay? So I know the three sides. I'm looking for angle C. So in this case, I'm going to have to use cos C. Right? Because I'm looking for the angle C. And the formula says cosine C equals to?
A squared plus B squared minus C squared over 2A.
Okay, yes, there's C and D's. Okay, let's use the actual letters. You're right. All right. So let's, this is side C, this is side D, this is bracket for the bottom. Find the answer of the top, write it down. Find the answer of the bottom, write it down. Then put it again. Side B is 650 squared plus 500 squared minus 750 squared all over 2 times 650 times 500. Can you give me the answer of the top? What is it? 110,000.
Divided by 650,000.
Since you're looking for an angle C, what must you do? The inverse. Okay? So you're going to do cos inverse of make sure you use your brackets, okay, when you're doing that in the calculator. So cos inverse of 110,000 divided by 650,000. 80 what?
80.
Sorry, 80.
80. Yeah, 80, just 80.
Oh, 80. Okay. Okay. So in this case, the question is only asking you to solve for angle C. Right? You're done. You found angle C. Are we okay with this? So you see how I need to understand the formula so I can change the letters. Okay? If you're absolutely stuck and you don't know how to rewrite your formula with different letters, what would you do? Rename the triangle. Please don't do the question because you don't know how to recreate the formula. If you're absolutely stuck, change this to A, or if this was X, Y, and Z, change it to A, B, and C, as long as you make sure you're solving the right thing that I'm asking you for. Okay? If you're absolutely stuck, please change your letters. Rename your triangle.
That was what I was about asking.
Yeah.
Yeah, we actually renamed this one to suit the B, D, and C as opposed to A, B, and C.
That's right. We rewrote the triangle, the formula. Sorry. Yeah.
Question: B squared plus D squared minus C squared.
Uh-huh.
As in CB plus CA.
The only thing is you need to understand is whatever your letters are, okay, the angle here and whatever you're subtracting, they have to match. Right? So if this was x and you're looking for x, you're subtracting x squared. Okay? That's what you need to pay attention to. Does that make sense? All right. Yeah. One of you. Yes, Iman.
We should make the formulas even without the
That's right.
we should use the bracket always or is
If you're going to put it all together in the calculator, then yes, you must use the bracket. If you don't want to put it all together in the calculator and you just want to do what we just did right here, you don't have to use a bracket. So technically speaking, right now, I do not have to use the brackets. Okay, because I found my top first. I found my top, and then I found my bottom, and then I entered it in the calculator. If you don't, if you put it all together in the calculator, and you don't put your brackets, it will be wrong. Okay? That's why I tell my students, do the numerator first, unless you're very, very comfortable with your calculator and you know what you're doing, then do whatever you want. But my advice to you guys, do your numerator, write it down, find the answer for your denominator, write it down, then do the cosine inverse. No brackets.
But can we divide 110,000 over 650,000?
I didn't do that because I don't want decimals. I just did cosine inverse of the whole thing.
But it's giving the same answer.
Yeah, it will give you the same answer. Sure. Are we okay with this? All right. Let's look at the next example. So, typical application question that you see in real job situation. Okay? So, an air traffic controller at T is tracking two planes. And they do that. All right? They're tracking two planes, U and V, so you have plane U and plane V, and they're flying at the same altitude. How far apart are the planes? So they want to know how far apart are the planes. Okay? So that means we're looking for side T. Given that airplane V is 15.3 miles away from T, and then airplane U is 10.7 miles away from T, and the measure of their flight is 75 degrees northeast, and the other one is 23 degrees northeast. Yes.
So first you gotta find for angle T.
And how do I solve for angle T? That's right. You guys see that I don't know what angle T is, right? I know what it's from the north to V. And I know from the north to U. I don't know what this angle here is, right? And I need that. This angle T is the 75 degrees minus the 23, right? Do you guys understand that part? Okay. Good. So I know that this angle here is 52 degrees. And what is given to me? What do I know? Two sides and the contained angle. So can I use cosine law? Yes, absolutely. All right, let's name this. This is side U. This is side V. And you're looking for side T. So I'm going to start with T squared equal to. I'm waiting for your formula. Uh-huh. You got it. Again, when you are doing the math with this formula, you either put it all together in the calculator, please, or you're going to have to do this by itself, and all of this together. Okay? So U is, we'll talk about it a little bit more, 15.3 squared plus entering this in the calculator, you either have to enter it all together. Calculator, you don't have to put the angle before the cos, okay? Because some calculators you have to put the angles before you put the cos, and it becomes a little trickier. But if you have a straightforward calculator, you might want to put it all together, okay? Which I think yours should be fine. For example, your calculator should be fine to put it all together. Some of the phone calculators are tricky, okay? If not, then you're going to have to find this, and then you does it have the answer for me? That's for t squared.